Been in the sports since, and what year should I say?
Whoa.
It's a good thing I would take this.
Oh,
Hello, and welcome to the Dual Power Podcast.
Your speed skating podcast, where we talk about everything speed skating related, inline and long track.
The last 15 years of speed skating have brought us lifelong lessons, memories and friendships, as well as a trip to the Olympics and lives as full-time professional athletes.
In this podcast, we talk with friends and fellow speed skaters.
We bring you behind-the-scene portraits, as well as race reports, training philosophy, inside stories from the skating world, and much more.
This podcast is brought to you by the Du Power Brothers. I'm Philip Schmidt.
And I'm Stefan Schmidt.
Hope you enjoy listening.
Hello and welcome. I am currently sitting in a minibus on the parking lot next to the road track of Yeow. It is, like always, almost raining. So I took the chance to sit down and have a quick chat with my good friend, Daniel Yeow. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. And we talked briefly about this before, and I put a lot of thoughts into this, like, how am I gonna introduce you? And honestly, you can do it in so many ways, and I hope that it's not gonna be too confusing, and otherwise I hope it's just intriguing, because you are, let's just say, a person with a lot of stories. So you did start in the inline sport all the way back from 1989, and you're an Australian, but you grew up in Hong Kong, and then started inline skating. Did the Asian Championships on inline, competed yourself for a lot of years, and World Championships and all this, and then later on as well went on ice. And you've been living in Europe. You've been living in obviously Australia, and you've seen a lot of inline skaters, a lot of ice skaters, and now we're in 2019. You started in 89 and you're still around. I mean, every now doing a race for the spectators, putting up a show, but I think more drifting into the role from being an athlete to then also having coached, and now you're still around. But welcome.
Thank you, Stefan. It's great to be here still.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, I just realized that I've been in this, like, in a serious way for 30 years.
For 30 years.
That's a long time.
It is. Does it make you feel old?
Yes.
So maybe we should just start with this. How old are you, Daniel?
I'm think about this. I'm 37.
37, yeah. Because you have such a great background story, you've been, I don't know how you say that, you've been bounced around between a lot of training groups and a lot of different countries and a lot of coaches and athletes and all this, and you've seen some shit. No, like, I mean, I think because
I've seen things.
You have seen things. What you have seen is you have seen inline speed skating and the trainings and the competition, and you've also seen ice long track speed skating and how the competitions and the trainings and everything is.
And
so,
short track.
And short track for that reason. Yeah, we might have a quick side note with that as well. But today's episode, I would love to give like an overview for all the people out there who might be inline skating and ice skating, or also the people who might just be ice skating or might just be inline skating still. But I think today we would like to cover a little bit the differences and the similarities, like if we talk physical from those two sports, and also we talk technical from those two sports. And lastly, we're going to talk about the mentality or the environment or something with these two sports.
Okay.
So first of all, can you just tell me, you started inline skating back in Australia because there was an inline scene then. How did you start ice skating?
So I was... This is a weird story, actually.
Yeah, I know.
I was living in New York. I had just finished my master's degree. No jobs, nothing.
Yeah.
And like my visa's running out. I'm like, oh, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm chatting online with my old coach, Desley Hill. So she used to coach Australia, and she had gone on to become national coach in Holland.
Yeah.
And so she coaches these inline skaters in the summer, and every winter her skaters just like disappear. It's like, oh, where do they all go? They go ice skating.
They go ice skating.
Because this is Holland,
they're Dutch.
and they're Dutch, and And so in the winter, they most of them go off and do marathon skating, actually. And some of them do long track as well.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, man, they just disappear on me. I don't have anything to do. And so it was actually like her idea. She's like, oh, why don't I get some Australian inline speed skaters who I used to coach?
So that was Holland that she wanted you to go to.
Yeah, and so she's Dan, Sophie, Wayne Begg, Brooke Lachlan, Joshua Lose.
Yeah.
And
how many from them ended up going at the Olympics? 3, right? Joshua Lose on the 10K? No.
No, so...
Oh, sorry, that was the painful... I should have said that.
That was...
Let's say Daniel Craig. He went.
Dan went. Sophie went. Sophie went to Vancouver after only 15 months on the ice.
Wow.
That was
insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And I think, given enough time, I think Brooke would have gone too. But for personal reasons, she had to go home. She's doing really well now, though. She plays professional Australian rules football.
How did you add up within this? Were you just up there as well, close to going, or was it a bit different story from you going on ice? How was it going on the ice for you in the beginning?
It was difficult. I didn't struggle with it like the most. I've seen inline skaters really, really struggle with this. Yeah. I just sort of stepped on and tried to skate and was like, oh, wow, this is really different.
Yeah, it's ice. It's not asphalt.
And spent a couple of months really struggling with the technique.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. It was... The most painful thing about it actually is to your ego.
Yeah.
Because when you're a good inline skater who's been to world championships, you think you're really good at skating.
And you have this identity that you're a good skater,
like,
I guess.
I can skate. I'm good. I'm fast.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're in this sport which looks very similar, and it is in many ways very similar.
Yeah.
And you just feel like a total beginner.
Yeah.
Objectively, watching people take this up, watching good inline skaters come to ice, they improve extremely quickly. Much more quickly than someone who would be like completely new to the sport.
Yeah.
But that's not what you feel.
No.
You just feel
like a rookie.
Like a total idiot.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
So let's take that thing you say that a lot of and most people probably know this as well, but a lot of inline speed skaters, they have made the transition from inline speed skating to long track speed skating, and they have qualified for the Olympics without a lot of training on the ice, and a lot of people are like, wow, how is this transition possible? So it does say a lot about the sports being very much the same, but I think they might be very much the same in the physical aspects of it. So what do you think you can carry from your physical, let's say, form from inline skating onto a long track skating, and what do you miss on the physical form? So
physically, these are very similar sports, and like that makes sense. You look at it; they look quite similar. You've got a skating position that's quite similar. You're using similar groups of muscles.
Legs.
You've got these big legs, glutes, quads. Yeah. Your lower back is taxed from being in the skating position, and you also have that balance of being able to balance on the skates, and these are all skills which transfer very well to ice. Yeah. And the type of athlete you are also matters.
Yeah.
Because there's a selection bias. You take, a random sample of the general population, you teach them how to inline skate. Like a lot of them will just quit because they're bad at it.
Yeah.
And the ones that you have left have a body composition that is suited towards inline skating.
So they're already selected for that, you would say, when they start ice skating.
Yeah. So when they come to ice,
they're probably already in the type of genetic phenotype or so that would fit well for ice skating as well.
They have decent hip flexibility. They have this sort of balance and awareness and all of that.
Yeah. So I've made this transition from inline to ice as well, and you made this transition from inline to ice and done both at the same time. So I've also felt the differences in the skating, but I feel like the physical thing, you can tell that you just have to learn to use that physical form efficiently, and that's the technique part. So let's take the technique part. What was the things that you think most inline skaters going to ice struggle with the most before they become more efficient on the ice? And I mean, it's an ongoing thing, of course. It never ends. It's not. But what's the first big issue that you see with inline skaters going on ice in the beginning?
The straights.
The straights.
The timing in the straights is easily the one big thing.
And that's based on the wheels and the blades acting in a different way, yes?
Yeah, and that's true. The wheels grip and respond to the way you push in a very different way to the way a blade kind of digs into the ice and glides.
Yeah. I think the blade, it steers, and it has that one kind of, it's maybe oversimplifying it, but it kind of moves, and it can move one way. Whereas the blade, you can kind of force it in multiple ways, and you can push it inside or outside. When you're on the blade, maybe people don't know this, but the blade is not sharp like a knife. It's actually squared. So you do have like two edges. So you need to be on the inside edge, on the outside edge to have grip on the ice, because otherwise it's ice. And when you're right in the middle, you don't have grip. So how does that affect the movement going from the outside to the inside? Or
yeah, I mean, and this is a huge difference with inline skates, because on inline skates, you put your skate onto the ground
straight on it,
and the point at which you have the most grip really is when you're right on top of it.
Exactly.
And you know, you can go one way, you can go the other way,
but that's the safe spot.
But that's where it feels really safe. It's like, yes, I have grip.
Yeah.
But on ice, when you're straight up and down on it, that's when you have the least grip.
You're just like a curling stone.
You're just sliding along. None of the edges have dug into the ice.
Yeah.
And that psychologically is extremely disconcerting to an inline skater.
Yeah.
And getting used to that feeling is really one of the first big things that you have to do as an ice skater.
I think most inline skaters have taken a tumble or a crash or two or three or four in the beginning going on ice, just because you're used to just like, I'll just move around on the top somewhere and it's safe, and you get this, I don't have grip, and then all of a sudden it's angle, and then you have grip but it's just going in the wrong direction or something, and then you're on the ice.
Yeah,
like
there's that unpredictability about it. When you're right on top, you're on what's called the flat of the blade, because it's flat.
Yeah. Wow, what a name.
And there's no grip, so your blade can kind of move in any direction at once.
Yeah.
And what'll happen, like it's what you describe, it'll kind of point in some direction, still not gripping, and then it'll suddenly grip.
Yeah. Exactly.
And suddenly you're like, oh, which direction are my feet going? That's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the ground.
So I think a lot of the technical things you would say to an ice skater and inline skater might be the same thing. Like most skaters, both coaches, if it's inline and ice, they always say, get lower. I never had a coach telling me to get higher. I've always like, get lower with your ass, and push more to the side, and get your hip into the corner. These three things are always the same, I feel like.
Yep.
And it's very important both on inline and ice. But do you feel like there's a bigger technical aspect to ice? Like, can you get away with more on inline, or how do you see it?
So I think on inline skating, because you have these wheels, which are these kind of rubbery, soft things that grip, you can get away with a lot more. You can have slightly off technique on inlines, and it doesn't punish you too badly.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is in the last few years, the speeds have gotten higher, the equipment's become more standardized, the tracks are faster, and because of that, it has become a more technical sport. So being able to get away with poor technique is
it's getting harder because it's getting
harder.
faster. Yeah.
But you still can, like, there's still inline skaters out there who are like monstrously strong.
Yeah.
And who haven't got wonderful technique, and they can still do a 1:10 marathon.
Yeah.
Whereas on ice, if your technique is off, or even if you have good technique but you start to fatigue and then the technique starts to fall apart, like, it really punishes you.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the, let's say, the double push on inline speed skating? It's mostly just from the long distance, not mainly, but it's mainly from the long distance inline speed skates. They would use the double push a lot to be more efficient over the longer distances. But then when you sprint on inline, you kind of also skate with a little bit less under push. Sometimes, I would say, maybe not all skaters, but some skaters do, like at the acceleration part of the... Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. And a lot of that, I believe, has to do with the fact that when you're accelerating, you're trying to step faster.
Yeah.
And there just isn't so much time for the underpush.
Okay.
So there's less underpush.
Yeah.
A lot of these good sprinters, when they get up to speed,
they can still use the
some of them still have a big underpush. Not all of them.
Yeah.
There's also a huge variation in kind of inline technique as well.
Yeah.
And with the underpush, you can try it in ice, but I don't feel like you get a lot out of it or anything out of it.
Yeah. I know you know a little bit about this as well, but can you explain the Roger Snyder and his? He's an inline speed skater background, and he did